I wish we could find a synesthete to study. They seem so interesting.
I know, it would be crazy if we were able to touch a certain texture and feel a vivid emotion. I've even heard of some people who hear a certain note playing on the piano and they see a specific color.
Wow. Yeah, that is crazy. They taste colors and see sounds, hear shapes, and touch emotions. Too bad most scientists dismiss synesthesia as silly and untrue. If only we could stumble upon a student or person who has the condition and is willing to undergo some tests.
You should ask the class next session.
I should. So if you or anyone you know possess this awesome phenomenon, please come forward so we can do some research. I'm really disappointed about class today. I was praying to God that we were able to find a synesthete to study.
I know, it would be so cool if someone was actually in our class.
That would have been awesome. I just hope and pray that someone comes to my office eventually and has the condition.
Me too, if only.
Come in.
Hello, Dr. Luke. I was in your class earlier today when you spoke about synesthesia. I was afraid of coming out in class because I didn't want people to think I was a freak or anything, but I think I might have the condition you were talking about.
Oh, really? You're not a freak at all. In fact, we were just saying how you're just the type of girl we need. Could you explain to me in detail what you're experiencing?
Well, when I see certain numbers, I always see specific colors. For example, the number 5 is dull red, 3 is blue, and 8 is yellow.
Really? Well, do you actually see the color, or do you just think of the color? Like, when I think of pumpkin, I always think of the color orange. But do you actually see the colors? Like this. What number?
That's a 3, and I see blue. I mean, I know the ink is black, but it's hard to explain.
What about this number?
That's an 8. It's yellow.
Very interesting. So you see yellow every time you see 8? It's the same thing?
Yes.
What about this?
That just looks black to me.
So Roman numerals don't give you the color?
Nope.
Doesn't that suggest that it's not a memory thing then? Because she knows it's a 3, but she's not seeing blue.
Yeah, you're right. What about this? 7, 3, 5, 2, 8.
Oh my goodness, it's a rainbow.
Wow.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jill Bruner, and let's go ahead and explain what Jackie's experiencing. Researchers such as Dr. Ramachandran have had a difficult time defining synesthesia, and there's many different phenomena that are similar to each other. Only a few types of synesthesia have been evaluated by scientific research, and even then, within one type of synesthesia, there's many different experiences. Dr. Ramachandran suspects that the condition is related to the neurocomplexity within the brain, and more specifically has to do with cross-activation. It is known that certain adjacent brain regions inhibit each other's activity, which serves to minimize crosstalk and keep areas isolated from one another. Dr. Ramachandran hypothesizes that there's a chemical imbalance of some kind that reduces the blocking of an inhibitory neurotransmitter, which would result in an improperly insulated brain. This ultimately would result in synesthesia. However, Dr. Ramachandran, or any other researcher for that matter, has yet to do extensive research. Because synesthetes are few and far between, there are many limitations that come with this research.
Hi, doctor. I had my left arm amputated below the elbow about 3 weeks ago, but I can still feel my arm and hand as if they were there. I have a phantom limb.
Interesting. First, let me see if there's anything neurologically wrong with you. Nope, everything seems good.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I have a hunch, and I'm going to do some tests.
Okay, what are you going to do?
Well, first, I want you to close your eyes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to poke you with my poker, and you tell me where I'm touching you. Sound good?
Sounds good. My knee. Left knee. Right knee. Right arm. What? I felt that in my hand.
Really? How about now?
I just felt that from my palm to my pinky.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to try something a little bit different now. I'm going to touch this wet poker to your face, and it's going to feel like a tear is falling down, but I want you to tell me what you feel, okay?
Okay.
All right.
I feel it running down my face, but I also feel it going down my arm.
Interesting. Okay, now I want you to elevate your left arm in the air. Now tell me what you feel.
I feel it running up my arm like defying gravity. Oh my goodness.
Almost like magic.
Wow, this is like magic.
Okay, after all of these tests that I've just performed over an extended period of time, I can now make a surprisingly distinct map on your face of the different parts of your phantom limb.
Wow, I'll be able to put that to good use. Like right now, since my phantom thumb itches, I'll be able to scratch the corresponding spot on the map to relieve the itch.
Exactly.
Hey everybody, Dr. Jill here again. Let's talk about what's happening in Luke's brain. You may be thinking, why does this happen? Why does the patient have a phantom limb to begin with? The answer actually lies in the brain's anatomy. The entire skin surface of the left side of the body is mapped into a strip of cortex called the postcentral gyrus, running down the right side of the brain. Well, the patient no longer had the arm, he still had a map of the arm in the brain. The job of the map is to represent its arm. Regardless of the fact that the arm is amputated, the brain map still continues to represent the arm. This explains the phantom limb phenomenon. This is why the presence of the limb persists long after the flesh and blood limb has been severed.
So that explains why I have a phantom limb, but why can I feel my phantom hand when I touch my face?
Good question, Luke. Remember earlier when I talked about the postcentral gyrus that holds maps to the skin surface on the left side of the body? Well, on it, the hand and face are located right next to each other. So, because the orphaned brain map still continues to represent the missing arm and hand in actintia, it is still actually not receiving any actual touch inputs. In other words, it's listening to a dead channel and is hungry for sensory signals.
From this point, there are two possible explanations for this sensation. In the most simply way put, the first theory is that nerve fibers from the facial skin that normally project to the face cortex sprout thousands of neural tendrils that creep over into the arm map and establish strong new synapses. Because of this cross-wiring, touch signals applied to the face not only activate the face map, but also the hand map in the cortex.
A second theory is that prior to amputation is that sensory input from the face also partially encroaches on the hand region. Now that the hand region is silent, these normally mute signals are now loud enough to react, and thus connecting the face signals to the phantom hand. Regardless of which is correct, the take-home is that the previous teaching saying that neural connections are laid down in the fetus and early infancy are totally now debunked. There's a sense of plasticity, meaning that the brain can now be reshaped or molded.
Hello, doctor. I also have a phantom limb. I feel like my arm is stuck in cement. It hurts. I wish I could move it.
Well, tell me about your situation before the arm was amputated.
Well, I had a bad accident where I had peripheral nerve damage. Doctors told me it was like a nerve that used to innervate my arm had been ripped out of the spinal cord, like a phone being yanked out of a wall jack in a violent accident. The arm was still intact and paralyzed for a while until I had it amputated.
Well, what I believe is happening was when the arm was still intact, there were still motor cortex signals sent to command movement to move the arm, which the parietal lobe continually saw as having absolutely zero muscular or sensory effect. In layman's terms, the paralysis was learned by the brain, and even after amputation, the paralysis was carried over into the phantom limb.
Interesting. But how do I get it unstuck? If my brain can learn that it was paralyzed, can we trick it into thinking it's not?
You may be onto something. I think I have an idea. I want you to set yourself up so that you see the reflection of your right hand in this mirror and set up the amputated arm to the point that it looks like the reflection is actually your hand.
Okay. Like this?
Perfect. Now move it back and forth and tell me how you feel.
Wow, it's like it's plugged back in. It feels so much better.
So what was happening in Jackie's brain? The patient had allowed her brain to unlearn the learned paralysis after the mirror box therapy. This therapy was later used on others to help alleviate learned pain, and it worked. Not only that, but the doctor discovered that if you put a concave lens between the line of sight and the mirror reflection, the person not only saw their reflection shrink to a third of the size, but they also felt their phantom limb hand shrink to that size as well. The pain also fell to 1/3 of the pain previously felt. We can now say with confidence that the brain is an extraordinarily plastic biological system that is in a state of dynamic equilibrium with the external world.